Be me. 2-9-year-old feminist, moving in with boyfriend of 2 years. He's software developer making around $120K annually, good salary. I work as freelance graphic designer making about $38K inconsistently. He suggests we split expenses proportionally based on our incomes. Immediately feel offended by the suggestion, like he's patronizing me. Tell him that's patriarchal and implies I need his financial help. Insist we split everything 50/50 to maintain equality in relationship. He looks concerned and asks if, I'm sure I can afford that. Get defensive and say, of course I can. I'm independent woman. Tell him splitting proportionally makes me feel like he's supporting me. Want to contribute equally to prove women don't need men's money. He hesitates but agrees to 50/50 split if that's what I want. Feel proud that I stood up for equality in our relationship. Start looking at apartments together in his budget range, not mine. He wants 2-bedroom in nice neighborhood close to his office downtown. Rent for places he's looking at is around $3,000 monthly total. Calculate my half would be $1,500, which is almost half my monthly income. Feel panic rising, but don't want to admit I can't actually afford this. Suggest we look at cheaper neighborhoods further from downtown area. He says he needs to be close to office and can afford this area. Remind him we're splitting equally, so it's our budget, not his budget. He points out $1,500 is reasonable for him, but asks if it works for me. Lie and say yes, it's fine. I can definitely afford my half. Sign lease on nice apartment and immediately regret financial commitment I made. Moving in, and he starts buying furniture for our new place together. Gets nice couch, dining table, bed frame, all quality stuff that lasts. Each item costs several $100s, and he expects me to pay half. Spend $2,000 on furniture in first month, which devastates my savings account. He doesn't seem to notice or care that I'm struggling with these costs. Tell myself this is what equality looks like, even if it's painful. My bank account dropping dangerously low, but won't admit I'm struggling. He casually mentions getting nice TV for living room costs about $1,200. My half would be $600, which I definitely don't have right now. Make excuse about preferring to not watch much TV anyway. He seems confused but drops the subject and doesn't push it. First month of bills arrives and reality of 50/50 split hits hard. Rent, $1,500. Utilities, $100. Internet, $50. Groceries, $400 total. $20 is on 50, my share. My monthly income after taxes is roughly $2,400 on average from freelancing, left with $350 for everything else, including car insurance, gas, phone. Realize I severely underestimated how much living expenses would actually be. Start eating rice and beans to keep grocery costs down for myself. He buys nice steaks and wine while I'm rationing my food carefully. Feel resentful, but can't say anything because I insisted on this arrangement. He suggests going out to nice restaurant for date night Friday. Panic because dinner would cost $100 and my half is $50. I don't have. Make excuse about preferring to cook at home being more romantic. He looks disappointed but agrees to stay in instead of going out. Second month and my credit card balance growing from covering my half. Freelance work is slower. This month only made $2,800 before taxes. Still owe $2,050 for my share of expenses plus $200 car insurance. Putting difference on credit card and hoping next month will be better. He mentions his company giving him $10K bonus from recent project completion. Feel jealous and bitter that he has extra money while I'm drowning. He suggests using bonus for vacation. Maybe trip to Europe together. Would cost about $3,000 total. So my half is $1,500. I definitely don't have. Tell him I don't believe in vacations under capitalism or something. He looks at me strangely but doesn't argue with my weird logic. Feel trapped by my own insistence on splitting everything equally. 3 months in, and credit card debt now at $3,000 from covering expenses. Interest charges adding up, making situation worse every month that passes. Freelance income inconsistent, some months better than others, but still low. He wants to get nice espresso machine for kitchen, costs $800 total. My half would be $400, which would max out my credit card completely. Tell him I don't even drink coffee, so I won't pay for that. He says, okay, he'll buy it himself, then just for his use. Feel weird about him having his own stuff in our shared apartment, but can't argue because I refuse to split the cost with him. Notice he's buying all the nice household items himself now after I refused. Quality cookware, new vacuum, nice bedding, all purchased with just his money. Apartment filling up with his things because I can't afford my half. Start feeling like I'm living in his apartment, not our apartment together. He never makes me feel bad about it, but I feel inadequate anyway. Miss having nice things, but refuse to accept his offers to cover costs. Ideology says we must split equally even if I can't afford anything. Watching him enjoy comfortable life while I struggle to make my half. 4 months and barely making minimum payments on credit card now. Debt up to $4,500 and climbing each month. I can't cover expenses. Had to cancel my car insurance to free up money for rent this month. Driving without insurance, which is illegal, but have no other choice. He mentions his car insurance went up to $200 monthly recently. Realize he's been paying twice what I was even for his insurance. Never occurred to me that splitting equally doesn't mean equal burden. His 2,050 inches expenses is nothing to him. My 2,050 is drowning me. Friend visits and comments on how nice our apartment is jealously. Mention that we split everything 50/50 to maintain equality proudly. She gives me strange look and asks if I can actually afford this. Get defensive and say, "Of course I can. I'm not a charity case." She points out my car is falling apart and I'm always broke now. Says my boyfriend makes 3 times my income, so equal split isn't equal. Tell her she doesn't understand feminism, and equal means equal, literally. She shrugs and says, "I seem more stressed than before moving in." Realize she's right, but too stubborn to admit my ideology is hurting me. 5 months in, and he wants to adopt a dog together, share responsibilities. Dog costs include adoption fee $300, supplies $200, vet $150, total $600 for our. My half is $325 plus ongoing food and vet bills, monthly forever. Have to tell him I can't afford dog right now, maybe later. He looks hurt and says he really wants dog and will pay for it. Feel guilty letting him pay, but also can't afford my half at all. He adopts dog anyway, and I feel like it's his dog, not ours. Every nice thing in apartment is his, because I couldn't pay my half. Living in relationship where I insisted on equality but contributed less. 6 months, and he sits me down for serious conversation about finances. Says he's noticed I'm struggling and wants to revisit our arrangement. Feel defensive immediately, like he's calling me poor and inadequate woman. He gently points out that proportional split would be easier for me. Calculate that proportional split based on income would be 75/25 roughly. My share would drop from 2,050 to about 700 monthly instead. Savings of 1,350 monthly would completely change my financial situation dramatically. But accepting means admitting I can't actually afford equal split, I demanded. Tell him no, I'm fine, and want to keep things equal, like we agreed. He looks frustrated and says clearly I'm not fine. He can see struggling. Credit card debt now at $6,000, and interest killing me every month. Freelance work slow again this month. Barely going to make $2,200. We'll have to put almost everything on credit card just to survive. He gets another raise at work, now making $135K annually, even more. Casually mentions it like it's no big deal, just routine career progression. Feel resentment building that he's thriving while I'm drowning in debt. His life getting easier while mine gets harder under arrangement I created. Realize the 50/50 split benefits him more than me, despite equal numbers. He pays same amount, but it's tiny percentage of income for him. I pay same amount, but it's majority of my income, leaving nothing left. 7 months, and my parents notice I've lost weight. Looking stressed always. Ask if everything okay with boyfriend and living situation I'm in. Break down crying and admit I'm drowning in debt from trying to split equally. Mom asks why I don't just let him pay more since he earns more. Tell her that would make me dependent on man, which is anti-feminist. Dad points out I'm now dependent on credit card companies instead. So better. Says being in debt to prove point seems worse than accepting help. Mom says real equality is about equity, not identical contributions always. Feel defensive but know they're right about situation I've created for myself. Boyfriend mentions he's putting $2,000 monthly into savings for our future. Meanwhile, I'm going deeper into debt just to cover my current half. Realize he's building wealth while I'm destroying my financial future completely. All because I insisted on splitting equally despite massive income disparity between us. He suggests again that we switch to proportional split based on incomes. Pride won't let me admit I was wrong about equal split being fair. Tell him I'm managing fine even though clearly drowning in debt. He says he can see my stress and just wants to help make life easier. Feel torn between ideology and reality of my financial disaster situation. 8 months in, and credit card company threatens collections on $7,500 debt. Missed minimum payment last month because couldn't afford rent and minimum both. Credit score tanking, which will affect me for years going forward badly. He notices collection agency letter on counter and asks what's going on. Finally, break down and admit I've been drowning in debt since we moved in. Can't afford the 50/50 split, but was too proud to admit I was wrong. He looks sad and asks why I didn't tell him I was struggling so badly. Says he would have happily paid more if he'd known I was going into debt. Feel ashamed that my ideology created disaster I could have avoided easily. He insists we switch to proportional split immediately, starting now, today. Calculate my new share is $700 instead of $2,050. Saving $1,350 monthly means I can stop using credit card and start paying down debt, finally. Feel relief, but also shame that I couldn't actually afford equality I demanded. He never makes me feel bad about it, but I feel like I failed somehow. Failed to prove women can contribute equally, regardless of income disparity reality. My feminist principles said equal contributions, but reality said equity makes sense. Spent 8 months destroying my finances to prove ideological point to nobody. Year later and finally paid off credit card debt from equal split experiment. Took 4 months of reduced expenses to pay off 7,500 inches accumulated debt. Now living comfortably on proportional split, paying $700 instead of $2,050. Have money for food, entertainment, savings, and not constantly stressed anymore. Relationship better now that I'm not resentful and stressed about money constantly. He's happy. I'm comfortable and never once said I told you so. Realize he was trying to protect me from this outcome from beginning. I insisted on equality that hurt me just to prove ideological point. Reflect on how badly my insistence on equal split backfired on me. Thought splitting equally would prove I don't need man's financial help. Instead prove that identical contributions aren't always fair or sustainable. Equality doesn't mean everyone pays same amount regardless of ability. Equity means everyone contributes fairly based on their actual financial situation. Spent 8 months in financial crisis to learn lesson. He tried teaching, destroyed my credit and savings to prove point that was wrong from start. My feminism said equal split, but reality said proportional split makes sense. Understand now that accepting proportional split isn't accepting dependence or charity. It's acknowledging reality that people have different incomes and capacities. He wasn't trying to control me by paying more. He was being fair. Fair doesn't always mean equal when circumstances are unequal between partners. Refusing help because of pride isn't strength. It's stupidity in disguise. Cost me 7,500 inches debt and months of stress to learn this lesson. He knew proportional split was fair from day one, but I wouldn't listen. Ideology blinded me to practical reality until I nearly destroyed finances. Realize good partner works together on finances based on reality, not ideology. Should have trusted his suggestion of proportional split from the beginning. He was trying to create sustainable arrangement that worked for both. I was trying to prove political point at expense of my own health. Equality in relationship doesn't require identical financial contributions always. Means contributing fairly based on what each person can reasonably afford. Spent year learning expensive lesson about difference between equality and equity. Now living comfortably because I finally admitted he was right from start. Talk to friends now about splitting expenses with partners they have. Always tell them proportional based on income is fairest arrangement possible. Learned hard way that equal doesn't mean fair when income's vastly different. Women don't prove independence by bankrupting themselves to match contributions. Real independence is making smart financial decisions regardless of ideology. Wish I'd listened to boyfriend's advice instead of insisting on equal. would have saved myself 7,500 inches debt and 8 months of stress. Expensive lesson, but valuable one about letting go of ideology for reality.